Hi there. Our meditation for this is going to be very simple. To take some slow, steady breaths in and out, releasing stress as we exhale. Now we're going to regulate our breathing by counting to 4 on the in-breath, pausing for 4 before we exhale, counting to 4 as we exhale, pausing for 4 before we inhale. This is called squared breathing. I'm going to do it with you. Inhale for 4. Okay. After doing a few rounds, return to breathing normally. The next thing we want to do, take our left hand and move it over to our right knee and then return it. Take our right hand, move it over to the left knee and return it. And now we're going to count to 20 as we do this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Take a nice deep breath. Exhale completely. Resume normal breathing. We have now synced both sides of our body, both hemispheres of our brain. As we go into the reading, we set the intention for this or something better, meaning we will not be limited by what we encounter in the reading, that we will only use it for our highest good and the highest good of all. And if there is something better, we wish to line up with that. Okay? And let us begin. Okay. Got some pre-shuffled oracle cards, so it's quite a stack. Let's see what we've got here. Actually, one of those things is the book. I want to use the book on one of these cards, but so let's see what we've got. of a birth or a new business opportunity. The stork and the owl. Good advice from a wise person. If there are other people involved in this, it's going to be possibly a community member or an advisor. Those could also be your roles in this. That's what I just heard. And I would rather avoid this. I'm driven by lower density. Okay. Trine, new cycle. Honoring darkness. So this is about you. Honoring darkness. So you may be aware of a pattern or something holding you back. This is something you probably are aware of. You may not know that it goes so far as to you wearing a mask. So you're not being authentic to who you really are. You know, sometimes it's hard to say that, right? Because we feel like we're being authentic. But we don't know that in our subconscious we have some pattern or coping mechanism requiring us to behave in a certain way to avoid a certain feeling or a scenario. It's a way for our ego to protect us. And so it goes below our radar sometimes. So even though it says this is something you're aware of, maybe you're not aware of why you're doing it and that it's a limitation to you. You've got representing any other people in this scenario. 10 of Swords in reverse, 8 of Wands, and Knight of Cups upright. Okay. Name 3 ways the opposite is also true. Express care for the other's best interests. Share what you have learned and or decided. Or discern if the other has care or learned and grown. So this may have to do with a rift between you and another person or a falling out. I have envy here. I am the same as everybody, but with different challenges. Your potential is endless. Grown. All right. Treat your body like the palace it is. Got Lucky Bunny, number 22. I'll show you this one. This has to do with healing. Something with Capricorn energy, established. Or actually, this was in reverse, and I kind of felt like I should take it that way once I said that. So there's something that's in chaos with the feminine energy. There's some chaos here. Something's unknown, something's undefined. It's to break you out of a prescribed way of thinking. I think it's about yourself, but you're maybe seeing it in someone else right now. Does Bear like Bear Cub's painting? How does that make Bear Cub feel? What is Bear proud of? How do you feel when something you make is admired? About getting the recognition that you feel you deserve. Maybe you see someone else getting recognition and you feel a little bit of envy or something like that. You feel like you haven't been recognized when you should have been. Maybe you haven't even been recognizing your own creative talents. This pile actually got a few of these cards that I have the book for. Athena, Eris, and Chiron. We just read a little bit from each of these cards. There's a message in here. Instead of reading the whole page, I'll just read the message that comes with it. You should enjoy a time of clever success and superiority now. If there is a battle to be fought, you will win it. Athena is by your side and truly favors the brave. You know, it takes bravery to showcase your creativity sometimes. And also your body in general, just being comfortable in your body. There's something about that here. Let's see what Eris has to say. Eris is a blessing because she gives us a healthy envy of others that will stir us into peaceful competition and achievements. Focus on your own labors, and in this way, Eris will stimulate your growth and move you ahead. So maybe you're looking outside of yourself and you maybe have this recognition that you're not being recognized and maybe feeling like it's unfair or, you know, that you should be getting the recognition. And it's kind of just asking you to, all right, good, you've been reminded that you do have something of value to offer. So bring your focus back in on yourself. Let's look what Chiron's saying in this. Okay. This Chiron is spelled with a K, so. Woundedness. This card implies that sensitivity, compassion, and healing are required now. If someone feels wounded, know that you can find peace within as you seek to understand and heal hidden pain. It is hidden. Be gentle and kind with human frailty, and Chiron will surely help you. Okay. All right. It's the time to overcome this pattern, and you may not know that this pattern is tied to a pain, but it is. And that has you operating in such a way where it's not necessarily so that you're outright sabotaging yourself from getting the recognition and success. It's just that might sabotage it if it came in, you know, without cleaning up this wound within you. Or you might not appreciate it, or you might, you know, something, you wouldn't be able to really ground it even if recognition tried to come to you. It probably has been trying to come. So let's look at what this wound is. Something you see outside of you right now. And might be in a community member or an advisor. It may have shown up in a relationship that was soured or just isn't going well. You definitely would rather avoid this, okay? So as we're talking about it, there may be discomfort, there may be parts of your ego trying to distract you, Just stick with us and we'll get to the bottom of this. Grab some other cards here. I brought 3 other decks over that I thought I might need, and this must be where I need them. Take these 3, and then I want something from this other deck here. Hold your vision. Don't let pride get in your way. Meditate and contemplate. I was just thinking about pride a moment ago before I sat down to do this reading. And what I had been thinking about, it was that I had sort of been led on this journey through my guidance, intuition, and messages and synchronicities. And I was thinking about how my ego, my pride, really didn't like the thing I was being asked to do. That if it were up to my ego, my pride, I would have not pursued the path that I have been asked to, or reminded to pursue, given my soul's intention for being here on earth. So I feel like maybe there's something like that where you've walked away, you've written something off, either for yourself or another. You have decided it's outside of you, not inside of you, the issue that you're having. Heart, longing, and apathy. Perhaps it's a lack of interest in creating something for yourself that would be like your own legacy, that would be your passionate contribution to the world. What is Bear proud of? How do you feel when something you make is admired? Ask these questions of yourself. Do you feel too self-conscious to share what you've made? Or do you feel like overindulgence came out? So you may be distracting from this wound by overindulging in something. Let's see though. Treat your body like the palace it is. So if you are overindulging in something that would affect your body, it's kind of reminding you. It's saying, this is the time. You got everything going with you to resolve this at this time. It's something you've decided you can't have for yourself, but you really want. And it's important for you to start honoring your own desires. So this is asking you to meditate and contemplate. And if pride wasn't in the picture, what would your vision hold, right? Like, even if your vision would have to say, oh, this certain thing never happened, so I never had to overcome it or walk away or judge or whatever it may be. We got deceived. Not coming to me very easily, okay? So this really, I think it's obvious to you what you're doing, but not obvious for the reasons why. That's what the issue is. Overthinking, not taking responsibility, masking. Keep talking yourself out of something. You don't know why, though. What is the original wound, please? Shaming. Someone shamed you. You have depersonalized from this, like acting as if you don't want that thing anyway. Something you really wanted perhaps as a child and were told that you couldn't, that, you know, like say you were a 3-year-old telling your parents that you'd like to be the president, and they deterred you by saying, you know, that's probably not going to happen. You know, that's just a very like plain example to show what kind of thing could have been. So when I say that, if you have an example in your life of something that happened that way, you know, that could be the root cause. Bring that up into your mind. I'm going to still dig at this some more. Could have been a pattern from your family line that you just adopted. Like, you know, my family doesn't make a lot of money, or my family doesn't get famous, or my family doesn't succeed in that way. Unskilled. Yeah, we had apathy. Your creativity is frozen by some sort of apathy. Could have happened in your teens. Consequences of you sharing yourself in a creative way hurt your pride and closed you down to even feeling like that was an important part of your life. And you put a mask on instead, and you pretended that you're not the most creative person that people would be in awe of, that weren't going to let your heart tell you what to do anymore. That you only would listen to your mind. You were very logical. You became very logical, and you just started thinking a lot and trying to figure everything out. And it was probably very confusing because you were dealing with overcoming a lot of things that don't make sense. I mean, our hearts, it doesn't make sense. It's like when my example of I was asked to do something that my soul intended to do that my pride wouldn't have done. You know, my pride has its decisions made up through my mind and what I think things should be and how I think I should be looking and acting and things like that. And it's like, that's not what I came here for. I didn't come here to fit some image of what other people thought I should be or do, even what my family thought I should be or do. And you didn't either. But there was a time earlier on where others were envious of you, of a talent that you had. And in some way, you decided to suppress and deny it in yourself. And what's continuing that pattern now is the unprocessed pain of that originally happening. So imagine if the bear is actually pointing at this and laughing, or pointing at this and critiquing. I feel like it's critiquing. I feel like you don't want to give people the option to critique you. As if the creation that comes from your heart isn't divinely guided and a gift from God. And you know what? Not everyone can accept the gifts all around them, and they're meant for certain people. And this experience that you're having of, first of all, having been rejected in some way, you know, and rejecting yourself in some way, is something that you did also come here to experience. So It's not wrong that you're having this experience. What have you learned from this experience that you wouldn't have otherwise learned? And are you now willing to acknowledge that you have a pattern of suppressing and denying your creative spirit and not letting your heart speak through you and to you? And can you validate why you've done that? And it's understandable because especially at the teen years, you want to fit in, you want to have friends, you want to be popular. Those things seem appealing to teenagers. And if you were really alone in your household home, it might have just been a survival thing where you needed a tribe, you needed some people on your side, you needed companionship. Or maybe you never got it at all. That's possible as well, because you could have withdrawn completely or just escaped into your mind totally. I think you went in another direction. Okay. So it's understandable that you did cope the way you did. And can you accept that this is where you're at? That you are now, as this version of you, ready to process this. It's 11:11 at the time of this recording right now. So that could be a synchronicity for you. Maybe it's a sign you've been seeing. So for me, it tells me that this is correct. What I'm saying is the correct storyline, and that we're acknowledging this timeline where this has happened for you. And let's accept that this exists, that this has been the experience that you've had. And then once you accept it, how does it feel? Can you remember the time where your work, your creativity was rejected, or that you rejected it in yourself? Can you be with any feelings that are ready to arise around that issue? If not, what about where you see others being creative? And maybe there's a part of you that's been like dismissing them and thinking that they're inferior or weak because they're not using their logical mind. Is that feeling that you get towards them, can you elicit that feeling and be with that feeling? So maybe it's like disgust or, just, it could also be something like envy. I really want that. It's not fair that they can express themselves that way and I can't. You're going to have to use a customized version of this scenario, because I think this is a popular scenario. That a lot of people have been kind of pushed into a box and not programmed to express themselves passionately. And they are doing that so that they can go through the process of knowing what it's like to not be able to express passionately and what it's like to build that bridge into allowing that for yourself. And living out the more authentic version of yourself and what that version of yourself has to express. And imagine how that version of yourself is so much happier and louder and pressed to express because it's been suppressed. You have something very powerful to share and to express and to bring into the world. And it's just waiting for you to unmask and be willing to be seen and be willing to have your art critiqued or disliked or not appreciated or not recognized. It's up to you to recognize your art. And it's coming through the feelings and the passion within you. And you know that that is worth something to you. So to create with and through that, the value for you is already lived in the creation of it. So whatever happens after that could potentially be bonus material and doesn't have to be anything more than the product of you actively expressing your passion. When you take the steps towards this, everything is lined up for you to be guided through it, meaning you will have the inspired action to take, meaning you won't have to worry about thinking about what to create next. When you're still, when you're silent, when you've got this wound already dealt with, you're going to hear your intuition a lot more clearly, and then it's up to you to take action on it. And you might be out of practice. You might have to, practice listening and practice taking action on your intuitive prompts, just to let your own self know that you're back on board with listening to your feminine energy again. And the feminine energy is that chaos energy. The chaos energy is trying to burst out of you, and you've been controlling it with this container. And so things probably haven't been going to plan, and you probably haven't been able to cope as well as you were for a while, the way that you were going. If you were suppressing certain emotions and creativity and just kind of overthinking or distracting and overindulging in things, it's probably got a lot higher consequences for you than ever before. And it's basically maybe even put your life into chaos, or at least a lot of chaotic experiences, or you might call it drama. And the reason is because this side of you, this piece of you, this part of you is ready to be unmasked, and you are ready to do that. And so some of the structures in your life that were keeping it out or keeping it suppressed have been directly hit by some of the chaotic experiences that you've endured lately. And it's all part of the process of healing and letting go of the suppressed pain. And it's more like integrating the suppressed pain, because you're becoming the version of yourself that can be with that feeling and let that feeling move through as needed. Meaning you may create something, and there may be someone else who comes along and has a critique or doesn't appreciate it the way that you do or did when you were creating it. And it's going to pass right through you, not as something that you have to feel anything about, except it's a piece of data about that person. Like, oh, that person doesn't appreciate that kind of art. That's okay. They're allowed to have their own preferences, and it doesn't affect you, your worth, how you feel. It doesn't throw you off. You don't have to avoid that situation anymore by not creating anything at all and being logical and just mind-based. All right. So you may have known that something was off, and this is what it is. Just some old pain that wants your love, and you're ready to give that love. And, we've got the Knight of Cups here, right? Like, he's not a King of Cups. He's a Knight of Cups, meaning he's just new at it, but he's ready. He's willing. Look at him. He's got his cup right out there. So you're well on your way, and this will be worth your while. And don't forget that any of the challenges you face as you let this part of you come out are things that you're already equipped to handle. Okay. That completes your reading. Hello, reflection number 2. Got some oracle cards here, pre-dealt. So let's see what we got. Heart on my sleeve, happy. I gave my heart to you, melting my heart, love. This is all pertaining to patience, please. So something is in process. We've got the Hermes card from the Greek mythology deck, and for that deck I've chosen to take the book along with me, but even the Hermes card itself says the word journey on it, so another indication that you're in process of something. Let's see what the message is from this Hermes card, though. Just going to read the message part, not the entire page. May be about to take a journey, which Hermes will help you on. It could be a mental exploration or a physical one. We can learn by traveling or learn by inquiring and seeking information. Hermes will facilitate any of these things. Perhaps even Zeus himself is sending you a message which you can receive if you look out for signs. Interesting. You know, it's interesting when we get told, oh, look out for the signs, but also be patient. It's because there's this delicate balance in our energy field where we are not waiting and we're not expecting, but that we are open. But we're open and allowing. Okay? So I feel like that's important. Inspiration and growth. Villain, you can always rewrite the story. And that's what we're doing. With these readings, that's one of the things we like to do is rewrite the story. Mourning, the world awaits you. So, perhaps you've been beating yourself up over something that you've done. Or you might feel victimized. Let's see, empathy and loneliness. Have you been isolating as a way to protect yourself or punish yourself? Is break the pattern. What would love do? More about love. So what is the pattern? Are you keeping yourself from a loved one, from loved ones? Let's see, we've got some more cards here, so I'll keep going. Eight of Swords. King of Pentacles. Eight of Pentacles in reverse. Empress. It's like, of all the things that you do, maybe communication is the hardest thing. But that's why Hermes shows up, right? Like, he is the master of communication, really. Let's see. Temporary boyfriend. Visit mom's house. Where are you at in all this? You see the truth. You no longer recreate the past. So you are breaking the cycle. This is a good thing. You may feel a little bit down, so it's asking you to uplift yourself and align with your highest self, okay? So you've broken the cycle, but there's still a higher timeline that you can jump to. Literally know what it is that you were doing, that you were stuck in the loop of. Maybe it originated from mom's house. Maybe it made it hard to commit or be with people who were not willing to commit and keeping you in a pattern of being lonely and blaming other people, really. But here's the thing. You recognize that pattern and maybe like decided to do something different than continue in the pattern. But at this point, it's like you haven't quite released the pattern. You've just adapted your behavior, which is fine. It's great. It just takes a lot of will, a lot of strength. And if we release the energy, then it will be a lot easier to make that change for yourself and to align with your highest timeline. Okay, let's see what else we have. Earth. Fourth harmonic, the cardinal cross. This is a step-by-step process, okay? meaning it's okay that you're not to the end of the journey yet, because there are specific steps that need to be done in order. Other people may be involved. I have options. I have many options. It's interesting. Okay. Child of a friend, grandfather, neighbor. These could be, people that you could plug into the scenarios. Child of a friend, grandfather, and neighbor. These people are all sort of removed. I'm gonna go with like this is if other people are involved, they're a bit removed from the scenario right now. Okay. So you really are alone right now in this, I believe. Maybe you have options on who you can plug into your life in the love in a love role, in a in a significant other role. And we got temporary boyfriend, meaning like maybe you aren't fully ready to commit. And maybe you are being asked to continue on in this process of healing this pattern, because at the root of it is this need to be for things to be temporary. All right. We got horse, short journey. All right, so this is not going to take too much longer, right? Like you're in process of it. Victory in some endeavor. So keep going. You've got victory here. Great passion. And misunderstanding. So, is cat enjoying the lesson? Is dog being respectful? How does bear know who is listening? What would you say to dog? It's like I was just being brought to that I have options thing, right? It's like you do have options. You taking the respectful option. Would you respect you for making that choice? Would you respect you for making that choice? What would love do? Are you letting love into this decision-making process of choosing an option? It's like maybe you made a choice at some point that you think makes you the villain, and this is kind of saying like, hey, you can change that now. You don't have to just continue on the villainous path because you made one choice. It's like you can redeem yourself. Like, look, all dog has to do is turn his head and be respectful. It's so easy. And you know this about yourself already. So what we want to look at is the root cause. Was empathy used against you at some point? Like someone knew that you felt a certain way and so they used it to their advantage or against you, or like, coerced you and hurt you in an emotional way by playing you emotionally or playing on your emotions for them. Because I think you even know that you're just distracting yourself with, like dog's just distracting himself looking at rabbit. It's temporary. You know it. It's the same old pattern. It's a distraction from what is at the root cause, which is going to involve some sort of pain. So you imagine somebody is emotionally manipulating you, someone that you gave your heart to, someone that knows you have your heart on your sleeve, someone that you love, someone who melts your heart, knew it and took advantage of it and coerced you, betrayed you, used you, held you hostage to a unfair relating dynamic and situation. Yeah. Yep. All right. So has caused you to continue to distract yourself rather than do the work. We've got the Eight of Pentacles in reverse. You haven't been able to get to the root of this issue. You've probably been distracting by working on your financial status and, temporary fling type situations potentially. Nothing that I don't think you would trust people with knowing how you feel anymore either. So dizzy while I'm reading this energy. Entitlement, we got. Entitlement. Say mother, because we got visit mom's house. What was it like in mom's house for you? Mom feels entitled to boss you around, to get you to do what she wants you to do, to have you do the certain chores, to have you participate in family dynamics. You were not given a choice when you should have had one. Oh my gosh, yeah. And therefore you hold on to all these options you have because you're creating the only situation that you can where you're like, oh, I have options, and it's literally because of this wounding in childhood where your option was taken from you on whether you'd conform to what was expected of you. And emotional manipulation was used in mom's house. And it has caused you to not want to be tied down, not want to trust other people to know how you feel. Perhaps even a wound has happened since then out of mom's house where someone used your emotions against you, someone that you loved. It could have been a pattern that's repeated with a few people more than one time. And this has caused you to, having these options has caused you to steer yourself off your destined path. So you've been doing like side quests, like studying very deeply what it's like to visit this option and consider this option. When really, those options aren't actually lending towards the destiny that you were actually on. I'm looking at a candle with the word desire on it. Darkest desire. It's like you have not let your most intimate desire even have the light of day. You would never let anyone know it. This is big energy. This is hard. This has got a lot of emotion behind it, okay? If you imagine this original wound with mother, you trust mother, you love mother has your heart, you have mother's heart. And it's like mother may have grown up in a dysfunctional relating dynamic herself, and that she's just unconsciously passing that on. She may or may not know that she is causing this pattern to be passed on and repeated, where the child is robbed of their own ability to decide for themselves how to feel. And making it a threat for someone to know how you feel, because they can then manipulate you and use it. And just being on hyper alert for anyone who shows you emotion. If somebody shows you emotion, then you think it's for a deceptive reason. But really, you're deceiving yourself because, yes, you probably have attracted some people who showed you that pattern. But you've certainly attracted some people that have not had that pattern. You probably overlook them. You probably don't even look at them. You probably remain fixated on the ones that show you the pattern that lives in you, which is the pattern of someone like that emotionally manipulating you, not being emotionally safe place. You've sacrificed for, this coping mechanism, which, you're now an adult. Now you can have a discernment about who is safe. You can take your time to get to know people and decide when you want to disclose your vulnerabilities and your emotions. And, the options that you have might look a lot smaller because all of a sudden there's some people you'll definitely rule out, right? Because now you're willing to look at the pattern. You're not assuming everyone has the pattern. You're willing to look at that pattern, and you know how to discern whether that pattern is in that person and in the relating dynamic that you would have to have with that person. So after a period of time, you get to know this, right? So all of a sudden, some of the options that you thought you had are actually not options for you at all. And it'll be a lot easier to discern what is healthy for you when you've healed this pattern. You'll feel a bit more offended by the energy that you don't align with anymore once you release yourself. So this is acknowledging that this has been happening, that you have this pattern of avoiding letting people know how you feel, avoiding telling people how you feel, avoiding being in something longer term, avoiding commitment, avoiding really being vulnerable in your relationships, your love relationships. And validate why you have that. It's very valid for you to have decided to cope the way you have. And then accept that this is where you're at. You still have this pattern. Yes, you're aware of it. You know that you've been doing this, but you still have the part of you that is hurt by what happened originally. So even though you've adapted out of the pattern, the way you were living it, there's still more to do. And so you accept that this is the case. And now be present with what it felt like. Can you remember what it feels like? If you can't remember what it felt like when mom did it, how did it feel the last time someone did it to you, tried to emotionally manipulate you? Or the last time you perceived someone as doing that? What did it feel like? That's the feeling that you're going to be present with. That's the feeling. You're not going to think about the past or the future. Once you have that feeling with you, you let it be with you. You don't try to blame anyone or push it away, because your job at that moment is to be present. No past, no future, no blame, no wishing it was different. Just let the feeling be with you. And as you let this feeling be with you, you become the version of yourself that can process this feeling. The feeling will move along on its own through the space that you created within yourself for it to move, when you accepted that this is where you were at. When you cleared up the misunderstanding that you held for so long within yourself about how you had to operate given how you were treated. And then once that feeling moves, you've become the version of yourself who can process that feeling. You no longer have to operate and cope in such a way to avoid ever having close relationships or ever putting yourself in a position to be treated that way again, because it will be so much easier to discern, because you'll be willing to look right at it, whereas your coping mechanism had you avoiding to look at it. Two, this was very powerful. Really, really powerful stuff. So on this higher timeline, you are the version of yourself who can discern, who understands what happened, who no longer has the coping mechanism subconsciously that causes them to be a temporary fixture, or to only have temporary fixtures, to not commit, and to not share vulnerable parts of themselves where appropriate. And that would be aligning with your highest self. Okay. And that completes your reading. My reflection number 3. I have some oracle cards pre-dealt, so let's see what we have. Let's see. Easygoing. Great friends. Circle of innocence and trust. This is going to be regarding your love life. We have Tai Chi, Fortune, from the Greek mythology deck, and I have been reading the book a little bit on these cards, so I'm going to do that now. Now have fortune on your side so you can reach for the equivalent of Aladdin's lamp and make your wishes. Good luck should come as a result, for you are now blessed with hope and opportunity. It's like we are aligning to a high timeline of a love, a genuine love. Though you may find yourself in a tangle currently. Maybe you even feel a little bit trapped by love. Let's see. Garden. Something lovely will grow from this. Decision. I kind of get the feeling about this, okay? When the Stoner card came out, I listened to a reading by another reader recently, and that kind of popped in my head. So the gist of her reading was that there was an opportunity for love available, but this person was staying in indecision and not taking action. We got the indecision card. And the reason, one of the major reasons, was they were stoned. Like this card came out, Stoner. I mean, this card could mean a few different things, but easygoing stoner. And in the reading that I watched, like she was saying, like, you know, you're not taking action because you're too busy getting too relaxed, kind of thing, you know. And I want to say this about what I understand about cannabis is that it can be a very helpful tool. I believe it was Abraham Hicks that introduced me to the concept that it could potentially also be a crutch, that if you continued to use it after the time when you didn't need it anymore, then it would get in your way. Like you would trip over it, right? And for myself, I was a daily user for many years. And it was very helpful to me because I grew up in a very tumultuous situation and I had a lot to process, and it kept me from being too overwhelmed so that I could process a bit at a time. So in that way, it was a very helpful tool. But I got to a point where I had processed enough of my backlog of unprocessed trauma and stuff from my past that I was able to vibrate higher, at a higher frequency in general than cannabis. And at that time, when I used it, it would bring me into anxiety. It would bring me down, and I could notice it. I could feel it. And, excuse me, this wasn't just one time. You know, I tried on occasions to see if that was the case, but it was definitely the case. And so I left it behind as with the understanding that I'd begun to vibrate higher than it. And from what I know, cannabis vibrates at the level of 500, maybe, which is a nice high vibration. And what it does is it eliminates all your resistance. So you're no longer kind of feeling the pressures and the stresses of all the things that you haven't processed yet, which is really, really helpful when you've been overwhelmed for a long time. But using it as a coping mechanism to always keep that stuff at bay means that you may never process any of the stuff. And your potential is to vibrate higher than cannabis. So if I'm vibrating higher than 500, then the cannabis actually brings my vibration down when I ingest it. And so for that reason, I was able to leave it behind, and it wasn't like I missed it or anything like that. I don't judge it. I think it's a wonderful medicine and tool. And just for me, it doesn't serve any purpose anymore, except for like being glad that certain other people that I know have it. Okay, so let's continue on and see what else we have. Be a fool. Yeah. You got to take a leap of faith. And that's what that reading said too. She said that in the reading. You need to take a leap of faith and then you will be guided. But the decision to take the leap has to be made by you. They can't make that decision for you. Interesting. Do they love the totality of their existence? Oh no. Do you love the totality of their existence or the fragments of them that cater to you? This is a question to ask yourself about your relationship with certain people in your life. Do you love the totality of their existence, which would be like unconditional love, or the fragments of them that cater to you? Or do you only love the parts of them that cater to you, that fill your needs? Are they allowed to be all the other parts of themselves too, and you still feel the same exact way? That's what love is. And this is asking you to look at that. Do you have great friends around you? Is that how you feel about your friends, that you love the totality of their existence? Because that's the opportunity you have. And we've got the Eight of Cups. It's like walking away from burdens here, emotional burdens. And the Devil card. Yeah. Tied up. So there's some sort of pattern or habit that you're tied to in a tangle. And this is bringing that up, okay? Let's see what else. There's still plenty of cards for us to look at. Oh, for true love. Get an enemy and then gossip. I just heard, did someone tell you something that wasn't true? Someone tell you something that wasn't true. Did they have an agenda that you didn't know about? Okay. I feel so sassy saying that way. That's interesting. Solid union. Okay. So think about someone that you potentially wanted to have a solid union with. Did someone else try to gossip about that person? Did you judge that person? Do you love the totality of their existence or the fragments of them that cater to you? There's an opportunity for unconditional love here, for true love. You answered the call. You answered the call. Okay. Sexual energy. Your passion. You answered the call, but it's like maybe you know about this, but you just haven't taken the action. It says use sexual energy. That's your passion energy. That's your creation energy. It's like, okay, you know what to do, go create it. That's what it's saying, but it's kind of saying like you have a coping mechanism, maybe using cannabis or something like that, it's getting in your way. You're just a bit too easygoing about the process. Sorry to giggle a little, but it is kind of funny to imagine, right? Like you get a message from God and then you're just like, maybe later. Because you're stoned. I was gonna answer the call, but I got high. Okay. Moon and Pisces and a blank. Oh, there's so much unknown here, and that's probably why it's easy to go, maybe later. Because the leap of faith is scary, right? It's a leap. And you have faith, so there's nothing that you're going towards that you know about the outcome of. There's nothing that you can predict. There's nothing. It's like you have to go with no expectations and no attachment to the outcome. It's asking you to go. It's asking you to go. There's so much here that says that you should go. The fortune card we had, then the garden card said something lovely will grow from this. At the very least, you're going to get a really important lesson about life. Those are important, Let's see. I trust you. I was wrong about you. Let's work this out. I feel insecure. All things that need to be said. Insecurity is par for the course when it comes to being a human, right? We're all insecure at something, until we're not. And those insecurities alert us to places where we can grow and learn. But no one has to be done, right? Do you love the totality of their existence or the fragments of them that cater to you? Well, let them have that too. Let them love the totality of your existence, even the insecure parts. Let them love those parts too. Let them know that you were wrong and you know it. What do we got here? We got wife. We got nemesis. See, that's that gossipy person who told you something that wasn't true. Friend, but you consider them a friend. Oh my gosh, frenemy. I dealt these cards out without looking, and we have cousin. May be relevant for you, may not. Wow. You have some other interference here. Taking a vacation physically or mentally. You've been checking out. Plenty of material things. Yeah. You've been focused on the material instead of the emotional realm here. Family sorrow. Beware of great pride. Yeah, pride doesn't let you say I was wrong. And you know what? Family sorrow is when the person who came to break the family curse, meaning to break the patterns that have been living out in the family for so long, maybe of being deterred by what other people think, about being too passive when they get called to their soul's calling. When those patterns need to be broken, the family does feel sad when that doesn't happen. You have ancestors behind you that have primed you for this calling that you have. So they're just hoping that your pride doesn't keep you from doing this. And maybe, yeah, the cannabis is one thing, but the pride is another, and both things have to be addressed. It's not just as easy as just, I'm a little bit lazy right now, It's also, that's going to suck because I'm going to have to say this or feel that way. What do you feel like when you admit that you were wrong? Now look at this card. What happened? What is bear cub doing? Why? Oops, sorry. How does cat feel? What should cat say? So it looks like bear cub is doing a little bit of mediation and protecting his friend cat, who obviously made an error, or maybe they both did in their play. Rabbit's being a little bit unreasonable. And maybe when you were a child and you had to apologize for something you did wrong, maybe this is the reaction you got. Maybe you never were met with somebody who was kind and compassionate and loving. You know? You know, my favorite thing when my 4-year-old granddaughter is here and she does something like spill or whatever, my favorite thing is that I say, it's okay, let's clean it up together. You know? It's like, that's not how I grew up. So you may also have come from this time where people were a bit in the lack paradigm. There's kind of this like survival mode that everyone's living in. And when there's spilled milk, the person, you know, the adult and the parent can sometimes be so stressed out, so spread thin, that they don't even have the patience to think, oh, I don't want to hurt this child's feelings when I express my displeasure in having to clean this up because I have so many other things to do. But in actuality, if that parent was conscious, they know that they don't want to hurt that child's feelings, and so they will be patient, calm, and kind. And they will be understanding about life's little things, about humans' little things, right? You know, if you have a friend and you don't know they're actually a friend of me and they lead you wrong, that sounds like a very human experience that another human who loves the totality of your existence would be understanding through. You know? Otherwise, they would be offering you conditional love. And that's something you'd want to know about too, right? Maybe they would need to know about that. Maybe they need the experience of seeing your face when they overreact, you know? Whatever it is, this is a calling that you've been called to. There is a lot of indication of success, victory, love. You know, love is the reason why you'd even engage in this whole situation. So it makes it feel a little bit more high stakes, but it also makes it something that you will engage in. It's like, if it's just a stranger in passing, this isn't going to play out and you're not going to have the experience or learn the thing that you want to learn that you wouldn't have otherwise learned. But this really is an opportunity because it matters that you express yourself and say that you were wrong or that you want to work it out or anything like that. It matters that you take the risk and be the fool and take a leap of faith. And they say if, you know, you need your bravery to take a leap of faith. If you are in need of some courage, you can put a safety net down before you take the leap. And in this case, the safety net is, no matter what happens, I have my own back. No matter what happens, I have my back. I love me unconditionally. I love me, even the parts of me who make mistakes before I know what I prefer. I love me, all the parts of me. I accept me. Once you have that down, you know, nothing like this is going to stop you from going forward into actually what's being presented here is a potential for a timeline. You know, without having expectations and without being attached to an outcome, this or something better, you go into a timeline where you do experience unconditional true love. And it's a solid union, meaning two people coming together in pure love. And this doesn't say anything about what that means, what it looks like, how long, you know, they continue relating or not. It doesn't say anything about that. Wife is in here, you know. There may be high potentials, But it is all just potentials. Nothing's set in stone. Sorry to giggle, but I looked at the stoner card right when I said that. Until the leap of faith has been taken, until the decision has been made to go forward into this, to use that passion for the calling that it was meant for, to sort of like sow the seeds and let them grow into what they're meant to be, right? We don't plant a seed for a tree and then decide how that tree is going to look and where every branch is going to be. No, we plant the tree and then we watch it grow. And if the storm comes and the tree needs to be propped back up with a stick, we make that decision about doing it, right? We nurture our saplings and we put in all the ingredients that it takes for us to be in a solid union and what we're inspired to by true love. And it truly is something you're inspired to, right? You're deterred, but it's by pride, it's by some other input, and it's by a bit of lackadaisicalness. So pride, look at your pride, you know? What does it really mean about you if you're wrong? Like, do you know that in human design, which is one of the ways you can look at how your energy's working, there are free calculators online if it interests you. But in human design, there's one profile that's the 1-3, and it's a profile that indicates the person with that profile will be learning by trial and error. Their lifetime will be lived through trial and error. So these are our rebels. These are the people who are not going to take someone else's word for it. They're going to have to make their own mistakes. It's important to be able to make mistakes. Mistakes tell you what doesn't work. So if you're going to succeed at something, it means a lot more if you know what didn't work, not just what did work. You could have gotten lucky. It could have been by chance. You might not understand the factor that made the success happen unless you have already erred a bunch and made some mistakes and figured out what didn't work. You get a much bigger picture view by having made the errors. So it's actually very important and part of the divine orchestration that one would err, that one would be wrong. It's okay to be wrong before we're right, and it's okay to take our time doing so, and it's okay to take a break and be easygoing about it as well, you know? Oh, what came to mind is in that reading, which is something I actually disagreed with about that reading that I watched last night, where they talked about the stoner guy, potentially guy, not taking action and his indecision holding him back. That reading was saying that it's going to be too late. And, you know, that was a little bit, part of that for me was, I didn't necessarily ascribe to that part of the reading, although I understood why they were saying it, right? Because if there's another person here involved, like this person's not going to be able to like put their life on hold. They're going to have to go have experiences too. Like they can't wait forever here, right? On the one hand, I understood that and that it would be too late. So it is true. But let's create the timeline where it's not too late, that you do this and that you learn what you have to learn from the experience of coming forward with the intention of working it out in the highest good of all, this or something better. Explaining that you were wrong, explaining that you feel insecure, you know. Let's deal with the prideful part of you that would disallow you from having that timeline as your reality. And when we look at the chart that shows the hierarchy of frequency for emotions, I'm going to see if I can insert that here. So when we look at this chart, pride actually caps us off before we get into the higher realm. So the higher timelines are above pride. And you'll notice that right above pride is courage. And that's because in order to get out of pride, it requires a leap of faith, which takes courage. And that's how you get into the highest timelines. You have to leave this pride behind, right? It's not just about you. It's not just about what it means about your reputation or how you feel or anything like that anymore. Now you're into the realm where you're answering the call of the divine, of your soul, what your soul intended to do. You're leaving this egoic realm where you're limited and repeating and just studying what thousands and millions of people have already studied here on earth. And you're going into the realm where you would be allowed to consciously create something new for the earth. And it could be the template for a high vibrational, true love experience. You're going to want to know what doesn't work when you go to create that. So the experiences you had in the lower timeline below pride are useful for that. Bring the experience and the knowledge and the wisdom that you've gained with you into the higher realm by way of taking the leap of faith out of your pride, meaning I'm no longer here protecting myself from everything that could go wrong, and I'm no longer here taking it personal about what happens. It's no longer personal, and it's not against me. I'm not in survival mode. It's not just about protecting myself anymore. It's about something bigger. It's about my contribution to humanity. So you're really on the brink of something huge for yourself, and that's why it feels so confusing. You're like, I don't know what to do here. I don't know. It looks like it can't happen, you can't do it. It's because you can't see it from where you are. You're like on one side of the chasm, and pride has you there. We saw this wall. Wall wasn't in this one. Beware of great pride. And use the courage, the leap of faith, to jump over into the higher realm where this possibility exists. So acknowledge that you have pride potentially holding you back, that you've been taking things personal, that you've been invested in how you're seen and how you experience things and what status you have and what things mean about you. You've been invested in that. It's not wrong, but that's the truth of it. Validate why. You understand that this is how you were brought up. This is what all the people around you are doing, and this is what the 3D realm is like. And then accept that that's where you're at. You're right at the brink of stepping out of the 3D realm into the place where you have more say in your creative input to what life you live. Your manifestation skills take a front seat in this realm, right? And then how does it feel to leave that behind, to leave all the hurts and the protectiveness and the worry and the fear and the wanting to be the best and wanting to be seen a certain way? How does it feel to let that go? Who are you without that? Who are you when you are the version of yourself that knows your worth, that is confident that you can handle whatever you encounter, that loves yourself fully, that knows yourself, knows your strengths, knows your weaknesses, and knows what's important to you, and is willing to share that with another person, is willing to follow their intuitive, passionate drive to create in this world? Are you when that is how you are? Okay, pick 3. That is your reading. Beautiful.